I'm here with Amanda Edward from the Urban and Agriculture Club.
I got to feel like a real news team for the first time. As part of my job for QCTV, I recorded Madison Larson interviewing performers for Psych Circus, the fair that the Sachsen Society throws in the spring instead of a dance or party, because each society throws at least one event per year, sometimes per semester. At 1 p.m. on April 19th, I grabbed a camera from the QCTV office and followed Madison Larson, the QCTV reporter, to her car. She drove us to a woman named Jen's house, which I believe was also the Sachsen house at the time, and she interviewed different artists that would be performing at the event while I recorded them.
So, Meli, you're from Costa Rica, correct?
Yes, Costa Rica.
So what brings you out to Whittier?
Well, I came to Whittier for the Psychedelic Circus. It's an awesome, super cool festival.
Madison forgot something and left to go get it, so Jen and I spoke for a bit. She seemed nice and friendly from what I remember, but I was a freshman and they were seniors, so I knew I wasn't being taken super seriously by anyone. I was probably just a kid who wanted to be a filmmaker in their eyes, and it was a fascinating difference in how I was treated from the film break mixer, where I was a company representative at an event for filmmaking professionals, to on campus where I was just an 18-year-old freshman in college. But Madison returned and we got to work shooting the interviews. It was fun to feel like I was just following Madison around, trying to capture the best footage that I could of her conversations and experiences with people that she already seemed to know. I hadn't really met any of these people before, so it was a relief not to have to try to track people down and put names to faces on my own. It was one of the only times that I felt like part of a real news team going out to get a story. It was also funny to see how different people reacted to the situation. I wasn't sure if it was because they were camera shy, maybe shyer on Madison, or something else, but at times I saw people get a little nervous, struggle to answer a question, or simply have a hard time getting words out of their mouth. And it showed me something unique about myself. I wasn't camera shy at all, and I had plenty to talk about with other people in regard to entertainment, almost to the point of never running out of conversation topics. I didn't really know what to make of this, but it was something I observed. I also observed that a lot of the Saxons seemed to be older and have more world experience than many of the other Whittier College students. But the interviews ended, and Madison drove us back to campus, and I turned in my footage to the QCTV editor for that episode, and my boss, Sandra Carollos. That same day, the Highland campaign started on Indiegogo, and Alex Hackworth, Vishal Kalar, and I were officially crowdfunding to shoot a feature film together. It was an exciting day in a number of ways. Alex and I really believed in Vishal's script and thought we could make a fantastic film if it got funded. Fun fact, Side Saddle was that Friday, the night of April 26th, which was the name of the Orthogonian Society spring dance, and I went via the buses they'd set up to get people to Sage Lounge in Uptown Whittier. I think I arrived with the ALN crew, like almost all dances that year, and everybody dressed up in cowboy clothing, which to me just reminded me of what Salinas looked like, but with slightly less Latino people. I liked the jean short shorts, flannel, and boots aspect of the dance, and now that I was single, I wanted to be talking to and dancing with people, but I don't think I did very well. I remember striking out with a number of people that night for some reason, but the night wasn't over yet. Just before midnight, I left with the ALN crew and a couple of Franklins. They got me into the Franklin House Afterparty, which meant my friends got in with me, and later that night, I ended up in the garage where the DJ was mixing. That DJ was a Franklin named Luis Amaya, and that's a name you'll hear again. Another Franklin named Tejada pointed at a woman and said, "She wants to get to know you." I thought she was also a student, but it turns out she didn't even go to Whittier College and was just there for the party. So I was a little uninformed on the situation. We danced in the garage for a bit, and this was my first experience of someone I didn't know looking for me specifically, even though it didn't seem like she wanted to get to know me any more than just dancing. If I remember correctly, this was also the night that one of the ALN crew made out with a tall guy nicknamed Stretch on a couch in the garage, and she cut her leg on part of the couch and had a long scratch along her thigh. Everyone joked that Stretch had been so into it that he'd accidentally scratched her himself, or that she'd made a blood sacrifice in order to make that makeout happen. But I left with the ALN crew, same as I'd come in, and we all talked about how the night had gone. It still felt very good to be the in to get my friends into these parties. The next day, April 27th, was Psych Circus, and it was fun, similar to Spring Fest, but with more Saxons and with live bands. We might have spent the evening there if it hadn't been for a visitor. Aaron Shee traveled down to Whittier College again, wearing his new normal outfit of a bro tank and a snapback, and he hung out at Psych Circus with us for a bit. But then we had somewhere else to go. Around 7 p.m., Aaron, Colin, and I took a second trip to USC, using Metro Bus 7 to get out of Whittier. At 7:30, I took a photo of Colin wearing Aaron's snapback both backwards and forwards while we were on the bus because he'd been making fun of Aaron's new look. It took us almost 2 hours to get from Whittier to USC via public transit, but we finally made it to USC around 9 p.m. and met up with our friend and her friend B, and then they took us to another rugby party. We walked there, and it was an outdoor party between two apartment buildings, but the balconies of each building were also part of the party. One of us made out with someone while we were there, and everyone got very drunk except me. There were beer pong tables set up, and we all played each other, but I can't remember who won. I don't remember much else except that USC was starting to feel familiar in places, and some of her friends started to feel like friends to some of us. Aaron was surprisingly good at getting to know people because he gave absolutely zero f***s about what they thought of him. He was too busy forming opinions of his own about them. All three of us would forget the names of everyone we just met, though, so at least we had that in common. We left sometime after midnight and walked back along that brick road by the USC bell tower, and one of us had some memorable lines that night because he was too drunk. For example, as we walked past a barking dog behind a fence, he looked straight at the dog and said, "You want to fight?" Like he was about to square up and do some fisticuffs with a Rottweiler. People compared him with the dog and said he'd been a hound dog at the party, so he yelled out, "Let's hound some," way too loudly, and we tried to get him to shut up. Then someone mentioned that some woman named Carla had gone home with someone that night, and he added, "Ooh, Carla's getting whatever she wants licked tonight." And we were like, "Okay, let's just get you back to the dorms. Just shut up." We spent the night crashing on our friend's floor, as was becoming the routine for when we visited. And when we woke up the next day, we gradually made our way back to Whittier. But first, Aaron got a video of me laughing so hard I let myself flop down on a beanbag on the ground in our friend's dorm room.
What the
I can't remember what it was that made me laugh, but you can tell we were in good spirits that day. What I learned from the QCTV interviews and the USC party was that it's okay to not be in control sometimes. I was just along for the ride on both of those adventures, and I couldn't have planned them out if I'd wanted to. But by relying on someone else's friend groups and networks, I got in two very different, but both very positive experiences. But you'll have to tune in next week to hear about how I had to interview Cole for QCTV.
Thank you again, guys, for coming in and talking to me. We'll see you at Psychedelic Circus next week, next Saturday.